Well, with more on this, let's cross to journalist Christoph Lemmer, who's been covering the trial. He joins us now from the German town of Bruckmühl, just outside of Munich. And in London, we have Jakob Guhl. He's a project associate at ISD Global, a counter-extremism organization. Gentlemen, looking forward to talking to both of you about this. So let me start with you, Christoph. Beate Zschaepe, found guilty, convicted. Has it been justice for the victims and their relatives?
Depends on whom you are asking. The defendants say no. The state attorney says yes. And most of the victims' families also don't say no for different reasons.
And Christoph, the fact that German police initially were insistent that this was the work of rival Turkish gangs, how damaging has it been to not only the legal process and the authorities, but the entire sort of culture wars when it comes to the question of crime and immigration?
It plays a role, of course, it is a factor to escalate the discussion that we currently have in Germany, this even more if I'm looking for what the NSU trial really open up from this case. There's a lot of evidence that has not been opened yet and maybe will not.
Right.
There are a lot of questions that have not been answered within the trial. One of the very easy questions, for example, is why stop the series of murder in the year of 2006, although these three people, Uwe Böhnhardt, Uwe Mundlos and Beate Zschaepe, has been living together until 4th of November 2011.
Right. Yeah, and the two guys who actually did the killing, yeah, those guys are dead, and you know there was that suicide, right? So it's really fascinating that she was the one sort of remaining person left, and then there were others as well. Jakob, let me ask you about that. What this says about Germany today, given that one of them, Andre E., was released because the judge determined that he'd already spent the time during the trial in prison. And when he was released, there were some neo-Nazis in court, and they were cheering. What does that tell you?
It tells you that Andre Emminger is now a hero in the neo-Nazi scene in Germany. He is actually seen by quite a few of the observers of the court trial as one of the closest associates of Uwe Böhnhardt and Uwe Mundlos. Mm-hmm. And he is in fact the first person whom Beate Zschaepe called right after she realized that the trio had been uncovered in November of 2011. So he's seen by quite a few people as very close to the group. But his strategy throughout the process was to remain silent and to trust that the evidence gathered against him could not lead to a conviction of him as actually assisting in the murders himself, but merely as knowing about the murders and aiding and abetting a terror organization.
Right.
And yes, he will go back to jail if the conviction stands. But yes, his relatively mild conviction was greeted with chants from the neo-Nazis present at the trial.
Christoph, you want to add to that?
I don't believe that Andre Emminger will go to prison simply because he has been in prison now for altogether 1 year and 6 or 7 months, which is about more than one half of what he got. His sentence was 2 years and 6 months. I don't believe that they will put him in prison again. And to add something more, the convictions for the 4 supporters that have been in the trial is relatively mild compared even to what Beate Zschaepe got. Beate Zschaepe is now held or locked away for the rest of her life, probably. All the others will come out with relatively mild sentences. As well, the deliverer of the most important gun, Ralph Wohleben, he was sentenced to 10 years. Now he has been in prison since 6.5 years almost. And so I believe that in, let's say, a couple of months, he will be free as well.
Christoph, let me ask you about Beate Zschaepe herself. Wolfgang Heer, her lawyer, spoke with us. He didn't want to appear on the program and speak in English. He speaks English, but he didn't want to speak in English, and he just gave us a short statement, and he said they're going to appeal. They feel this was unjust. Yes. Let me ask you, what are her chances of getting maybe a lighter sentence if she appeals?
They are not so bad, because a lot of evidence is missing and was missing to this trial. You have to understand that Beate Zschaepe has not been at the crime scenes. She was not, there's no evidence and no proof how exactly and detailed she managed to be part of each of these crimes, the murders, the bombings, and the robbings. And in each and every single case that has to be proven against the federal court, the BGH it is called in Karlsruhe, and they will check this this trial that was given yesterday.
Right.
And it was. Yeah.
Let me bring in Jakob here, because it brings up an interesting point. There's a lot of stuff missing, and it's missing because domestic intelligence agencies actually destroyed it, right? And they don't want to reveal the names of undercover agents within the neo-Nazi community. So we put that together. She might get let off, or she might get a lesser sentence, right? Because files are missing and domestic intelligence destroyed it. These are 8 Germans of Turkish descent who were killed, and a Greek and a policewoman. Would you then understand, Jakob, why, for example, the Turkish Foreign Ministry is so upset? Because they feel there is an element of a cover-up here.
Oh, absolutely. And I understand it even more in the case of the community in Germany that is of Turkish origin. It throws a very, very dangerous light on the German domestic intelligence services. And I think the trust relationship in between the Turkish community in Germany and the security intelligence services has been severely damaged. And quite a lot of observers of the process, quite a lot of social scientists who've very closely been following this process are demanding further answers, are demanding that the situation gets cleared up to restore the trust that has been lost.
Christoph, has Germany been in denial, or rather has it underestimated the neo-Nazi threat, and it has been evidenced in this trial?
Germany and the German society is very good in, well, lighting candles and being very strong with symbols whenever neo-Nazi crimes happen. This works very well. This is the soft part of it, showing I myself as a German do something good and show something good. The other side is the hard work that the police has to do, and maybe as well secret services if feasible. But what they do is driven by interests that I really don't understand. And to give you the best example of all that, Chancellor Angela Merkel is always on the side of those who say, we want to welcome refugees, for example. We want to be a good and a beloved country, a nation within the others. But on the other hand, she was the one to promise to uncover all the crimes of the NSU. But at the same time, let's say 2 or 3 days later, files were deleted in an office that belongs to her chancellor office. And that doesn't fit together.
Jakob, given that groups such as, political parties such as the AFD are in parliament, a lot of them, I mean, they would say, oh, we had neo-Nazi links in the past, but we've sort of, broken away from those shackles. And if anybody shows Nazi inclinations, we kick them out of the party. We've had some of their members on the show as well in the past. Sometimes a lot of what they do seems to be a form of neo-Nazism dressed up as something else. Given that we saw that support in Parliament for Andre, given that the AFD is in Parliament, are you concerned, given that you're involved in counter-extremism, that this kind of white supremacist neo-Nazi extremism is on the rise?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the great concerns we have here at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. There is a resurgence of white nationalism that, as you mentioned, does not quite use the same symbolism as the Nazi symbolism anymore. but that uses dog whistles to hint very similar ideas. There's a rise of, for example, the identitarian movement in Germany that sort of overtly tries to distance itself from the neo-Nazi connection of some of its leading members, but that nevertheless is pushing quite a dangerous agenda. And that has some links with the AfD. The AfD, even though it has an official statement that it will not cooperate with the identitarian movement, there is a lot of personal interaction, among other places in Thuringia, where the NSU was formed.
Christoph, very finally from you, because I think you disagree.
I do. I give you an example of what the German state and the government is doing and what it is worth when you look at it closer. In the year of 1992, we had a couple of bombings and fires that have been set against asylum homes in Germany. The biggest case of that was in Rostock. As a reaction on that, the former family minister of the Federal Republic of Germany, which was Angela Merkel, set up a program, funding it with altogether 80 million Deutschmarks at this time, to prevent young people from violence and right-wing political violence. This money was spent in a couple of cities in eastern Germany, and one of these cities was Jena in Thuringia. And one of the places where it was spent was the Winzer Club. And exactly at this place, Beate Zschaepe, Uwe Mundlos, and Uwe Böhnhardt have met. And it was exactly the time when they got more political and more radical and found up their ideology and their way to go. So this program did not work, at least not work for these three people. To my understanding, they spent quite a lot of money for quite a lot of things, but no one really evaluates what this money does. It has become a business that has set up in an own kind of reality. Right. That has not to do very much with the reality at the streets.
Okay, and I appreciate the examples that you gave us. Gentlemen, it's been really fascinating to get a deeper understanding of the situation in Germany right now. Christoph Lemmer and Jakob Guhl, I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers.
Welcome.